guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. I figured I'd do something a little different in this video. A couple of you have been asking what my car is and what exactly I have installed on my car and what makes me fast or slow. So I figured I'd cover all that and also include some of the footage from this weekend's event of Points Event 3 of this year so far. So what my car is a 2015 Scion FRS. Now, fun fact about this car is it was also originally made by Toyota and Subaru, but sold under the Scion badge for the first few years of production in the United States. So Subaru is the BRZ, Scion it was the FRS, and Toyota it's known as the 86, which you've probably seen the new one come out now called the GR86, and Subaru is still making their BRZ. They're very similar, just slightly different bumpers and maybe different suspension tweaks. That's about all I can really tell. So this car included a Subaru flat 4 engine. It was only a 2-liter, came out with about 200 horsepower. And other than that, some of it's Toyota, some of it's Subaru. But there's a lot of different unique parts on it that was very unique for two big manufacturers to come together and create. Such as the fuel injection system is partially designed by Toyota, so it has port and direct fuel injection. Yeah, 2 injectors per cylinder, which gives the car the unique ability to run E85 if it wants. When this car was sold, it was originally said it had Prius tires, which isn't far from the truth. The car is very easy to slide. It was very fun, very controllable, very forgiving. So it instantly struck a chord with a lot of the car community as a good entry-level grassroots car. It wasn't fast, but it was fast enough to end up in jail. So behind me I have certain parts installed to make my car look like this. Everything from I have Tang Flex Z coilovers, parent end links paired with that. I've opted to have differential bushings installed to stiffen the rear end for better tracking ability. I also opted to have a transmission insert. I noticed in heavy cornering trying to change gears I would completely lose gearing. So I was like hitting no man's land. So as soon as I put that insert in, I could hit every gear without thinking about it. Behind that, I also did the shifter bushing. So the shifter is very firm, very solid, very confident. I just recently did an open flash tuner. I'm personally not a big fan on the engine, but I'll get on that later. I did do a stage 1 open flash tune just to get rid of the cold start. If you didn't know, a lot of Subarus have a crazy loud cold start, especially if you have an aftermarket exhaust. And the only reason it does that is to heat up the cats as quickly and hotly as possible for fuel emissions. So the stage 1 tune kind of deletes that and fixes a few of the fuel trim levels, and that's about it. Next up is the custom splitter. This was a DIY project. I didn't feel like spending big money. I'd love to spend big money and get all the aero package from Varus Engineering. I adore their packages. But for now, this is just an appearance package mostly. And inadvertently, I found out that it protects my bumper whenever I hit a cone on course. It's an aluminum composite with fiberglass. So it was about 80 bucks for a sheet. It was actually enough to make 2 of them. So all in all, I have maybe $80 to $100 in my front splitter. And that also gives me the ability to have 2 if I ever destroy this one. I think I want to remake the front splitter out of something more durable and do quick disconnects so I can take it off whenever I want, because right now there's probably 24 billion bolts holding it on. That thing is not coming off at all. Next, I created the custom diffuser with the other half of my composite, and that actually used half the amount. Next are the wheels. They are Inky NT03s. They are 18 by 9.5 plus 40. That probably just sounded like a lot of mumble jumble, but if you know what I'm talking about, you know. They're about the widest wheel I can fit on this car without rubbing or rolling my fenders, which I'm okay with. Currently I'm running a 245/40/18. I would like to change to a 255/35 to slightly widen my track and shorten my diameter. Other things I've done to the car are the hood vents. Those were somewhat aesthetics, but they actually help with the temperatures of the engine bay because these cars have been known to overheat the crank position sensor The coil packs overheat on the passenger side because of the header and the catalytic. And it actually also lowers the temperature of the radiator, surprisingly, quite a bit. I could add bigger ones, but I opted to go with the smaller ones for now. I also made my own rain guards, which online they wanted to charge quite an exorbitant amount, but I had the capability of making my own for close to $15, so I opted for that.
Alright, so getting past the basics of the car and what I've done to it, the nitty-gritty of trial and error that I've learned while driving the car and on autocross. Right now I am running on the Dunlop Sport Max. My first impressions of the tire were they were comfortable, quiet, they seemed capable, but now with further testing in autocross, I know that these tires are costing me at least a second to 2 seconds in competition. So if I learn to drive fast on these tires, it will make me a better driver when I get better tires. But for now, they're an okay tire if you daily drive it. But performance-wise, I'd pass on them. I opted for these because I got a deal for $350 for them. So they were a bargain at the time. What I should have got was the new Falken RT660s. These kind of replace the Xena 615s, which is actually the tire I ran before these. And they were fantastic. Gripped great, wonderful temperature ratings. Never had to worry about them. They offered me all the grip I needed out of this chassis. Before that, I ran the Continental Extreme Contacts. They were okay tires until they started chunking and coming apart. So I'm also not the only one that experienced that issue with those tires. So I'm not a fan of Continentals for autocross. I'm not sure how they'd handle actual road race. Maybe the temperament's better, but for autocross, no good. So in the future, you can expect me to hopefully upgrade to a set of Falken RT660s or something comparable to that performance level.
Driving this car actually is pretty comfortable. I'm fairly impressed with the coilovers. I'm sure if you've watched previous videos, I've driven it to West Virginia, and now I've been driving it roughly 30 to 35 miles to Columbus to race at Obetz. That's one way. And honestly, the car feels very similar to stock, just slightly firmer. So for the amount of performance I've gained and the level of, I guess, comfort is very tolerable for what I've done to it. Now, the biggest changes I've done to the comfort level was the bushings on the transmission and rear differential. You definitely hear the clutch, you definitely hear the whine from the rear end. It's quite noisy when you're on the highway doing 75, 80. It almost sounds like a Whipple supercharger on a Cobra Mustang. But it's not. So it makes the car sound like a race car, but I know it's not. Sounds cool though. So right now this engine is pretty low on horsepower, I feel. I'm lacking grip, I'm lacking horsepower. Neither of which will make me a better driver, but now that I'm learning the limits of my car and getting to them quicker, I'm ready to start adding power. Unfortunately, with this engine, the FA20, I'm somewhat limited, I feel. I don't want to go boost. The engine is already 12.5 to 1 compression, so I don't want to stress it, and I'm already at 86,000 miles. Without boost, these engines already blow up on their own at 80k to 100. I mean, it's something about Subaru engines. My last Impreza blew up on me, and I tried my darndest to take care of it. So the engine isn't going to be getting touched anytime soon. What I can upgrade would probably be somewhere around like brakes. I'd like to upgrade my brake compound and maybe better rotors, because I'm still running factory. I've actually never felt like I've been lacked a brake in autocross. It's really surprising. Upside from tires, I'd like to possibly upgrade my aero. I know it does very little on autocross, but damn, it makes the car look good. And obviously I'd like to replace the engine.
Since I don't have much faith in this factory engine, I've always wanted a LS swap, which is out of the Corvettes, Tahoes, Silverados, whatever. I'd probably take anyone I could get, 5.3, 5.7, 6.0, 6.2, whatever. I know the actual drivetrain could possibly only handle maybe 450, 500 if I'm not like launching it hard. So I'd be happy with somewhere around like 400, and even the base model LSs will come with that. Price-wise, an LS locally, I've been told, runs right around 10 grand, which sounds like a lot of money until you look at actually how much Corvettes or cars with the LSs that are on a performance level cost. It starts to look pretty achievable at that point. Considering this car used, I only paid 13 grand for. Add in another 10 grand, I'm not even at the actual full retail of what this car cost. So I don't feel too bad if I actually choose to do a V8 swap. But what else would be my options if I don't want to keep this? As of right now, the car is a seat time car. It's gaining experience and gaining confidence and learning what works and what doesn't work. If I could get anything other than this car, I've always loved old Datsuns, a Miata, because Miata is always the answer. But they make some retro kits for Miatas that make them look like old school Cobras or Fastbacks. It's kind of cool. And they're fairly achievable or attainable cost-wise. Besides that, I've always really liked Fox body notchbacks. I know Matt Farah did an awesome one, and there's a lot running around town actually that I really like. There's also a couple at Autocross that are done up very well, and if I did do a Fox body, it would need a lot of parts, a lot of suspension. It'd probably be more money than this actually. And some of you are wondering, why wouldn't I just get a new car? Well, I mean, it has no frills. It's more of a driver's car. It has an engine, it steers, it shifts. There's no special assists. There's no special infotainment center. I mean, I know some of the newer cars coming out right now are the new BRZ or the FRS, which, I don't know. I've already got one. It's got a Subaru engine. It'd be like sideways shifting. It wouldn't be really an improvement to me. The only other thing I could do is maybe the 400Z or the Supra. The base model Supra would probably be more affordable, but do I really want to pay 35 to 40 grand for a car and start that process over? Not so much. Another thought I've always thought about was getting an old GMC single cab short bed, lowering it down and doing a whole suspension package on it and running that as a daily race car and a truck. I've always wanted a truck. It'd be nice. It's something to think about. For right now, I'm just going to drive this car, and I guess when the engine actually decides to go, call my buddy up and do a V8 swap, because there's honestly not a lot else out there for car guys like me, I feel. So points of Event 3 was very hot. Even in the morning and during the driver's meeting, the sun was absolutely roasting. Beyond that, when my time came to finally race, my first lap, I honestly only wanted to get sub 40s. After watching everyone in the first heat, I would like to get sub 40s. That was my goal, and I was lucky enough to achieve it on my very first lap. So I got sub 40 on my first lap, and I felt really confident. And even with the passenger, which this isn't the first time I've done my fastest lap of the day with a passenger, I'm starting to think that the car handles better with weight in the passenger seat. So I've always gone to track with, you know, a third or less of a tank of gas, and I'm starting to wonder if I should go with a full tank and see how it does. Now, it might just be luck or maybe intuition trying to show off with a passenger, but I'm kind of beyond trying to show off with people in the passenger seat. Now I'm all about actually trying to learn my car and let other people experience what autocross is about. So I don't think that's it. I think that the car is actually more capable with more weight in the passenger seat. So 4 laps the entire day, that's all we got. It was a little discouraging, but the heat was exhausting. After lap 3, there was a car that actually blew a radiator hose, and that took a while to clean up. And between that time and getting out for the very last lap, I kind of lost motivation. So my last lap could have been quicker if I was in the zone, I should say. And I wasn't in the zone. I was completely unfocused by that time. I mean, I was hanging out talking to people, and we were just we were done. I was consistent in my times within around a second, which I guess is a good thing, but also I feel like I should have improved another second. I wanted to hit 38s, maybe even 37s. Reviewing my footage compared to other drivers, I know that I was a little loose on my driving line, but I also feel like my tires are holding me back. That's an excuse that I can use, maybe. Or maybe I just need more seat time to become a better driver. I mean, both could be true. If I became a better driver, I could do a better time. If I had better tires, I could have a better time. It's, you know, both sides. Likewise, I feel like I need more power. The engine does not have great power. It's flat on its face until probably $6,000. And that's just the character of the car. What are you going to do? Engine swap it.
Well, that is the event, at least for me, with all of the setbacks from the BMW blowing its hose and the computer issues. They basically called it for the day, but they're doing fun runs, and there's nothing wrong with fun runs, but there's no timing on them. And I really like to see timing so I can tell whenever I'm going faster, obviously.
So that was points event 3. Not the greatest event, not the worst event, but I learned more about the car, and I know now what my restrictions are and what's actually holding me back of going faster. There's a few more events for the year. I hopefully can make them. There's a lot of things going on this year. It's surprising. I didn't expect 2021 to be so busy, but it's really ramping up here. So hopefully you guys like this detailed look at the car and an overview of what I've done to it and why I like to drive it, and maybe the future possibilities of it. If you don't think I should do an LS swap, let me know what you think. What other cars do you think I should go after that are attainable? For my income range, I'm right around the 10 grand mark for most cars. Sometimes I'm a little flexible, like this car. I spent a little more than I wanted to for what it was, but all in all, I'm pretty happy with what it is. So if you guys have any other questions, ask them down below. I'll be sure to answer them. And until next time, guys, take it easy. It is a good looking car, you have to admit. Storm's coming in. All right, time to wrap this up. Later.